So today we're going to be going over the topic abortion and pro-life versus pro-choice. Me personally, I'm more of a pro-life, but we'll see what he says and react to it. This is Asbesto's Retreat on YouTube, so see what he says, react.
You end up with genuine, serious issues and conflicts. So let's deal with the life issue first. The reason that there is a pro-choice movement in the first place, and if you look at all of their messaging, everything's very clear. That embryo is not a person, because if it was a person, it would be murder. So they've positioned themselves, the pro-choice movement. By the way, let's just cut to the chase. Let's get rid of pro-choice and pro-life. These are pejorative terms, they're advertising terms. We're talking about a procedure, so let's just get down to the factual basis of the pro-abort.
I do like how he gets to the facts, and kind of negates the whole like proportionalized government part of it, where it's just expanding the idea more than it actually is, and just getting back down to the nitty and gritty and what's actually going on. But I'll continue the video here.
People are making the case that this is not a human being, it's not a person, it is a collection of cells, just like giving blood or cutting off a fingernail, and therefore this is a choice. No one tells me how long to cut my hair, so if I can do that with those cells, why can't I do this with those cells? The problem with that argument is, and I don't hear anybody making this case, is that that embryo is not your cells. Women say, this is my body, it's my choice. It's not your body. It's in your body, but it's not your body. You take the cells of that embryo and you take them to a lab, and they will not come back as the same as your cells. I can take a fingernail clipping from you and I can DNA identify you with 100% accuracy. If I do the same thing from your embryo, it's a different person. It's not you, it's a different person. Likewise, there's only two places on the spectrum between conception and birth, although some pro-choice people are pro-abortion people are talking about being able to do it after the baby's born, and that is conception and birth. There's nothing that happens between those two positions that's a landmark. With that said, we have the issue of, do you have the right to enforce upon people your moral view on things? If people consider it a group of cells, then they don't. So my answer would be, I am now anti-abortion, and we'll go back to the traditional things. I used to be a little more pro-choice, now I'm considerably pro-life. I don't know if you have the ability to coerce people with the government, because when it all comes down to it, I think this is a great moral evil, but I don't believe you can enforce virtue on people from above. I think that has to come from within. So I think the answer is to get the government out of it and get people to make the right decision.
All right, so to end the discussion, I do kind of disagree where he says, like, after conception, it's just a bunch of clump of cells, because it does depend on the situation and how long it's been. I feel like it is more situational, as well as, like, say, for example, you have you're a sexual abuse case, or you rape, for that matter. I feel like you should have a choice a say in that. But at the same time, I feel like if you're just some teenagers that were not protecting each other, during conception, that should be on you, and that was the choice that you made during that time. I feel like it is a lot of situational about it, and I really like how he goes into the aspect of taking out the emotion in it, and I feel like I kind of try to do that as well. But he says it very clear. I definitely changes my perspective on the movements on both sides, and how I could see some people choosing one side over another, whereas I'm more pro-life. But I could also see the way that people say, oh, I need to get an abortion because I had this baby because of, something they couldn't control, but I feel like abortion is still murder. So that's my view on it. I feel like he explained it very well, and it definitely did change my perspective on my view of it. And that's it. My name's Harrison Felger, and I'm signing off.